No matter how evolved or elevated horror gets, it always seems to return to its roots. Today's picks bring some classic monsters back in modern ways. Abigail was a wonderful surprise when I saw it in theaters this year. It's been a real treat to see Radio Silence evolve as filmmakers, and I can't wait to see what they do next. At number 20, Abigail was released on April 19th, 2024, and is streaming on Peacock from Universal Pictures. It's directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett, and written by Stephen Shields and Guy Busick. A group of criminals are called together by a mysterious man named Lambert, played by Giancarlo Esposito, to kidnap Abigail, played by Alicia Weir, the young daughter of a wealthy socialite, after her ballet practice. Once Abigail is in the crooks' possession, they must keep her in a secure location until the morning, when Lambert will pay them and send them on their way. That was the plan anyway. Only the crooks don't know that Abigail is a vampire, and now they're trapped inside the mansion with her until the sun comes up. Oh, don't get pissed. The fact that Abigail is a vampire is no spoiler. It's right there in the trailer and in all the adverts for Abigail, front and center. Though I do wonder if they had edited the trailer more cleverly, suggesting there was a monster in the house, but not letting the vampire ballerina out of the bag, if the film wouldn't have been a much more impressive shockeroo for me. While the filmmakers do attempt some twists and turns towards the end, the biggest complaint I have about Abigail is that given that I know the premise and met the cast of crooks, if you've seen a horror movie or two, you can probably guess who lives and who gets their blood drained. And most likely, you'd be as right as I was. While predictability is often something I am not a fan of, this being a modestly big-budget release, predictability is somewhat of a requirement these days. So I can't knock the Radio Silence guys. I'm calling them that because listing their names is a bit of a chore for doing what's profitable in a mainstream movie. Good for them. They've hit the big times. But with it, sadly, goes the risk-taking and unpredictability that I love about more modestly budgeted horror shows. That said, there are some late-in-the-game twists that I found to be impressive. The over-the-top violence is off the hook, and the Radio Silence guys seem to understand that the human body can take quite a beating before keeling over lifeless. With a cast limited to just a few actors, the group are used as punching bags, pincushions, and juice boxes over and over again by this limber little vampire. It's great to see these guys and gals get the living shit kicked out of them, and makes when they do eventually bite it all the more meaningful. The cast is made up of a lot of fun actors that I've seen before, and each of them play their part well. At the beginning, Scream 5 and 6's Melissa Barrera quote-unquote reads each of the crew members and proves to be pretty spot on with what she has gleaned from them. It's a fun way of learning about the characters without having them boringly drop exposition about themselves. Having Barrera's Joey not only highlight who the rest of the crew are, but also their faults that they don't really know about themselves, also shows that these characters have been thought about a bit and developed, which is something I always support. Barrera is great, and despite the fact that she needs to shut the fuck up on social media, I'm sure she'll have a career ahead of her someday, because her presence here is much stronger than she was in the Scream films. Joining Barrera is the fantastic Dan Stevens, and I don't know why this guy hasn't caught on as a big star yet. From Downton Abbey to Legion to The Guest and now to Abigail, he is shown to have an amazing range. Here he's king scumbag among the scumbags, and it's obvious the actor had a blast with this role. It's always fun to see Kevin Durand, who always manages to add a big heart to every gruff role he takes, and Kathryn Newton, who was just seen in Lisa Frankenstein, has wonderful comic timing and doesn't seem to mind getting down and abso-grossly dirty. Though his role is small, Giancarlo Esposito is as poised and menacing as he always is. Now, young actors are tough to watch in horror. Sometimes, if the movie is too serious and the child actor is made to do grotesque and risque things, I often fear that the child will leave this movie fucked up and in need of lots of therapy. Then again, child actors who are too young often have difficulty conveying the proper emotion required for a scene, and you can just tell it's a kid actor being fed lines off the screen from his mommy. While little Aisha Weir is doused in blood from her tiara to her ballet shoes, it appears as if she's having the time of her life in Abigail. And on top of that, she's a hell of a little actress, giving quite a few monologues and delivering them convincingly, as she's supposed to be playing an aged vampire trapped in a child's body. Not many actresses of that age could pull that off, but Weir does exceptionally. There's a gigantic pool of blood, gop, and gore to wade through in Abigail. I'm glad films like this are given the opportunity to relish in the grue and help satisfy those fans who love seeing their heroes and villains get grody. Paired with the over-the-top violence and the comedy, I imagine the copious amounts of blood was cleared because it is such a ridiculous amount, and doubt that a more serious film would be able to get away with what they did here. As is, Abigail is a gorehound's gourmet. And as for strong comedy, meaning that the comedy is just as prevalent as the horror, violence, and carnage, I found myself laughing through even the moments spoiled in the trailers. Abigail is a predictable big-budget movie, but the radio silence guys really know how to deliver a roller coaster ride drenched in blood and laughs. It's a fun vampire romp, nothing serious. It doesn't break new ground, as we've seen child vampires and the rest of the vampire shtick before, but a glorious, grand, and gory old time nevertheless. The godfather of indie horror, Larry Fessenden, returns this year with a surprisingly traditional take on the classic Wolfman story. Blackout was released on April 12, 2024, and is available on demand and digital download from Dark Sky Films and Glass Eye Pix. It's directed and written by Larry Fessenden. Alex Hurt plays Charlie, a down-on-his-luck artist who is trying desperately to get out of town. Charlie was attacked by a strange creature a few months ago, and since then, on the night before, during, and after the full moon, he blacks out and wakes up covered in blood in the forest. Reports from the night before indicate a savage murder has occurred close to where Charlie wakes up, and this leads Charlie to believe he has become a werewolf. So Charlie wants to get out of town before he changes and hurts anyone again, especially his ex-girlfriend Sharon, played by Addison Timlin, who happens to be the daughter of local businessman Hammond, played by Total Recall's Kuato himself, Marshall Bell. Larry Fessenden is a legend in the indie film industry. Not only is his list of roles and cameos in various horror films as long as a Sasquatch's arm, but he also has been quite a prolific director himself. Much of Fessenden's work has dealt with themes of alcoholism and addiction. One of Fessenden's earliest films, Habit, used vampirism as an allegory for addiction, and now the writer-director-actor uses those themes again against the template of the legend of the werewolf. This time, though, the theme is less prevalent than the one seen in Habit, but the effects of alcohol on one's life are front and center. Fessenden's take on the werewolf is wonderfully classic. He's named the town all of this occurs in Talbot, after Larry Talbot, the name of the man cursed with lycanthropy in Universal's classic The Wolfman. The rules of this particular version of Wolfman adheres to the rules established in that old film as well. And Hurt, in his werewolf form, looks a hell of a lot like the original Wolfman design, with mostly facial and hand applications, leaving the actor to use his own body to act out the rest. As a huge Universal Monsters fan, I not only appreciated Fessenden's dedication to represent the Wolfman in that way, but was pretty giddy with excitement while watching it. Now, if one doesn't have my appreciation for old school horror and are used to seeing CGI werewolves pixelated on the screen, then I understand why one might snub their nose at Fessenden's version of the Wolfman. And that's cool, I guess, but man, was Blackout a breath of fresh air for me. That doesn't mean Blackout is flawless. It squeezes a lot of exposition in the front half so that it can have a payoff in the latter. There's also a ton of people in the cast, many of them recognizable genre faces like Marshall Bell, Barbara Crampton, Joe Swanberg, Kevin Corrigan, James LeGros, Jeremy Holm, Mark Center, and many others. Most likely, with Fessenden agreeing to appear as a cameo in other horror movies, these actors are returning the favor, and all of them are given a line or two to have fun with. The problem is that very few of these scenes are together, so you might get this recognizable face in one scene, and then we're introduced to another and another in a small scene later. Put these all together and you have a movie, but still, the scenes feel disconnected, most likely because the actors couldn't all appear at the same time during filming. So there are only a few actors guiding us through the story, and we meet all these other randos along the way. It's somewhat disconcerting, but again, given the budget, it is impressive that Fessenden could pull all of that talent together. Actor Alex Hurt is undeniably the son of William Hurt. He looks so much like his father and delivers the same kind of under-the-radar, subdued coolness to his performance in Blackout. Hurt has no qualms in tearing off his shirt and baring his chest. Those who read the old Werewolf by Night Marvel Comics series, the fact that Jack Russell loses his shirt frequently was an ongoing joke, one that I feel works here as Hurt has no qualms disrobing all and running bare-chested through the woods. Addison Timlin does a great job as Charlie's lost love, whose beauty seems to be the only thing that tames this beast. Timlin gives her all here and makes the role work. While the effects are rudimentary, Fessenden makes the transition work by adding some very cool animation to fill in the blanks that most likely would have cost too much for the film to support. I've had my fill of pumping face squibs and reverse-filmed hair growth sequences seen in every other werewolf transformation. These animated scenes actually liven up what has become a tired werewolf movie trope. As an ode to old-school werewolf movies, Blackout works big time. Fessenden obviously is a fan of these old creature features. I'm sure those who poo-poo lower-budget films will not be impressed, but Larry Fessenden has been a hands-on creative in front of and behind the camera worth supporting. Blackout has all the right kinds of indie passion. Once again and always, feel free to agree, disagree, or how about you play along at home and give me your own picks for your favorite horror movies. It's October, so let's talk horror. Come back tomorrow for the next level in the Best in Horror Countdown. Be sure to hit all of those pertinent bells and whistles down below, and you'll never miss a post. Happy Halloween, folks. Please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel, and ring that bell for notifications. You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're